Okay, just wait for everybody to join us. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the very first South Glengarry Business Zoom series. We have the pleasure to speak with Jamie Tyrell from the Community Futures, or CFDC, about two different programs that are available right now for businesses to help them out. One is the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, that's RRRF, and I always want to say RFFF, but it's RRRF, as well as the Technology Innovation Program, which is the TIP program. So both of these different programs kind of work hand in hand, and they're both meant to help your business in today's age and what we're going through on a daily basis right now. So I will hand it over to Jamie. And actually, just before I do that, I also wanted to introduce you to Doreen. Doreen Ashton-Wagner is also from CFDC, and she will be able to maybe touch base for after Jamie talks a little bit about the programs and give kind of a couple pointers and maybe some contact information and how to reach her, if that's okay, Doreen. Perfect. Okay, so without further ado, take it away, Jamie.
Great. Well, thank you, Shauna. So there's a few familiar faces on here that I recognize. So welcome to today's session. I had a conversation with Shauna, I think maybe give or take 2 weeks ago, and basically it was a reach out conversation to just to get an update on what kind of programs were out there, and to her surprise and to both our surprises that there's a lot more out there that we realized, and she thought, why don't we put together this little session and have people attend. And I thought that was a great idea, because I know there's a lot of programs out there. You may to kind of bounce around, and as my colleague said, stick handle the programs. That can be a kind of a daunting task. So what my role is here, I have two different roles with the CFDC. One is I'm the account manager for traditional lending, and I'm also the account manager for the RRRF, which is the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, and I'll talk about those programs in a moment. And then the secondary component is I'm the Technology Innovation Program project manager, and there's actually one of the TIP advisors are on here as well, Mr. Andrew Sege. So maybe we can do a shout out after. But that program is really innovative, and I'll speak about that as well. But I'm also going to show how we can actually use some funding to help pay for these types of programming, and kind of help you navigate a little bit of that, and to see how your business can actually use some funding and also receive some other subsidy fundings in the same thing. In the world of funding, that's called stacking, and sometimes you're not allowed to stack, sometimes you are, and in this case, it's not really a stacking, but I'm equating it to that we are going to use one to leverage another. So the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, and by all means, anybody can ask me questions at any time, just let me know, is extraordinarily similar to CEBA. So if you know much about the CEBA, which is, I can't remember, the acronym is slipping my mind right now, sorry about that, but essentially it's a up to $40,000 loan. So the criteria to that is that you have had to have an impact from COVID. And when I say an impact, it could mean a variety of things. And this is where we get into that kind of stick handling situation where it's quite vague yet it's specific. So someone might come to me and say, well, I had to shut down for a few months because of COVID. Well, that's obviously there's an impact on there. Someone might say, well, I've had to spend more because of COVID. Well, that's an impact on there. So I've given two total extremes. One, you're not getting money, and B, the other one is that you're spending a lot more money because of that. And then those are what I call the goalposts, and then everything in between that. So it's really a case-by-case scenario. So I had a client that was saying, well, my business has actually increased, but my profit has decreased. And so that becomes a bigger question. Okay, well, what's happening there? What are you doing? Well, I'm actually spending more time doing things because I've had to do more PPE stuff. I've had to take more labor, and my expenses increased. So there's a lot of things like that really comes to play. So that results in an impact as well. So it's really one of those things. I want people to not answer the question for themselves. It would be great if you have a question and you're interested in to say, can I get this funding? Yeah, pick up the phone, give us a call and see if we can help out with that situation. So that way it's not so static or structured in a sense that it makes you ineligible off the hop. The criteria is really, you send in an application. The application is quite straightforward for me, but it might be cumbersome to you. We have on the line right now is Doreen Ashton Wagner, and she's our new COVID-19 business advisor. So if there are questions, there was a gap in our organization where it was like, well, what do we do when we have all these questions and who do we send them to? Because they may not qualify for RRF, they may not truly, but they could qualify for something else. And that's what I call the no, N-O. I can't help you, but I K-N-O-W, I know someone else that can. And that's where maybe the referral goes to another organization and we provide that link. So instead of the entrepreneur, the business explain the story another 3 times, then it might be something that we can look at from there. So that's the criteria: the application form, ID, bank statements, last couple months of bank statements, some kind of master business license just to prove you're a business. It could be your articles of incorporation, just to validate that you are there. If you're a sole prop, some people don't have a bank account, a business bank account. Some people use their personal bank account, and Andrew's probably cringing in his mind right now when he hears that, but that we just need some sort of validation regarding that, as well as some kind of financial statement. So notice to readers probably the easiest. Some people don't have that, so maybe a statement of business activities is something that we look at, as well as maybe they're a sole prop and all they did was file their income tax last year. We might need a few more details, but just basically to tell us what's going on right now to validate that there is a business. That's really about the criteria. Pretty straightforward. I do ask for 3 months of expenses, and that's on a spreadsheet, and that just validates some fixed costs. Maybe if you have some suppliers and you have some payables that you've incurred, but also it asks you, what do you need to help you move forward in here? And that might be in the form of working capital. So I need another $10,000 because my business is going in a direction that I can see it going, but I can't afford it. I need to go that way in order to save my business and or add a revenue stream. So that could be something that you could look and go from there. So some people's fixed expenses on a 3-month basis might be $3,000 or $4,000 a month. And then you total that up and it becomes $12,000 over a 3-month period. But that just covers your fixed expenses. You still haven't pivoted forward or figured out what it is you need to do to go that way. So let's say you do take that $40,000. There is a little bonus to this if you have not received CEBA. And this works the same as CEBA is. If you pay back 75% of that loan, whatever the amount is, you are allowed to have a 25%. It goes into the form of a grant, but 25% is yours to keep. So if you take out a $40,000 loan and you pay back 75%, which is $30,000, $10,000 is yours in the form of a grant to do really whatever you want to do. So if it's a great incentive, it gives you a lot of cash flow. There is no interest and there's no payment due until December 2022. So we're almost December now. So essentially you have 2 years of money that's doesn't cost you anything. So it's good working capital. There's no expense to that. There's no interest rating. So it's really good for a cash flow perspective as well that you can look at that. In terms of what happens after December 2022, so as of January 1st, 2023, it's the interest rate is 5%, and then it gets locked into a 3-year term. So at 5%. So not a horrible rate and not a bad term either. So in theory, you have 5 years. If we look at it, let's say you took the loan today, you have 5 years in theory to pay that back, but the first 2 years is at 0%. It doesn't accrue either. So there's no, some places it's like the interest rate starts as of today. They don't really tell you that. They hide it into the fine wording and stuff like that. No, the $40,000, let's say you paid zero down, zero anything, the $40,000 commences this January 1st, 2023. And that's when the interest rate starts as well. So it's pretty straight, it's pretty simplified. I like to keep things simple in my life, and that to me is a simplified measure to allow someone to get them out of a rut. I get this question a lot: is what if I receive CEBA? So meaning I already took the $40,000, and which means that I'm allowed the grant portion. You can't duplicate the grant. So if you get the grant from one CEBA, you can't get the grant from RRF. And conversely, if you receive the grant from RRF, you cannot get the grant from CEBA, because sometimes some people didn't qualify for CEBA based on the rules in March, April, and so on. They've changed the rules slightly. So that's something to not confuse. As well, you can get both. So if you receive CEBA and you realize, man, I need some more money because I have some other variable costs, you can get RRF as well. What they don't want to do is have you just duplicate and replicate the same costs every time with every application, right? As well, from a cash planning perspective, is just watch the amount of debt you're taking on to get yourself out of this while you're saving today. Is this really going to hurt you tomorrow, or in a couple of years, basically? So there's that type of thing that I like to discuss with clients as well. So that's RRF. I can kind of pause it there and see if anybody has any questions or if anybody wants to add anything to it.
Thanks, Jamie. That's a really good overview. So basically, for those people who are interested in the program, I would point them first to the CFDC website to get some background on the program itself. So that link can be found on the newsletter or directly from mycommunityfutures.ca.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah. And there's 2 tabs right on the top of the page. One is for RRF and one is for the next program that Jamie will be speaking to, TIP. So first is to check out the program there, and then from that point, once you kind of have an idea of where your project may fit into the program, then to contact Jamie directly and discuss what you have in mind, and then you can kind of go from there for eligibility and stuff like that. Does that make sense, Jamie?
It does. So what we're doing with Doreen, and that's maybe Doreen, you can by all means welcome yourself into this discussion, but that's something as well. If you look at the website, Doreen has put that in the chat right now. There's actually a red banner, and in that red banner it says, basically, if you're looking for some help with COVID-19, or if you have some questions, you click on that. That will automatically take you to Doreen. So if we look at it kind of like lead generation or like a triage or an intake, that kind of stuff, that's where we would refer you to Doreen, because it might be more, they may not need RRF. They may totally not need that. They may need to speak with Rose at BDC. Rose, welcome to the call. So so that may be something as well. They may need some bookkeeping kind of stuff versus a loan. Like, oh my God, I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. And that's where even someone like Andrew Sagan, who's on this call as well. By the way, I didn't know these people were coming on, so I'm not making plugs on purpose, but that's where someone like Doreen can kind of guide them in that manner. So maybe Doreen, if you wanted to add a couple comments, that'd be great.
Absolutely. It's interesting. We use, is there some echo here? Hopefully. Okay. Yeah, you use some sports analogy and stick handling here, but I'll use a different one. It's a little bit like a school counselor, and the student comes in and says, I don't really know where I can do this. And my job is actually to help business owners kind of figure out, based on what they need and what's going on in their business, and steer them in the right direction when it comes to the application process. If it's something that can be channeled through the CFDC, then absolutely I will be there to do some hand holding to a certain extent. I won't fill it out completely for you, obviously, but we can actually set up a time, do a Zoom. I can walk you through, share screens, etc., and answer some questions, because there are some fields that, depending, can be interpreted in different ways. And this is what I'm here for. So essentially, as a guidance counselor, to help answer the questions with regards to the various programs. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, it could be, there's another program, for instance, for women entrepreneurs called the RE3 program, which is administered through another agency, but we refer to them as well. So that's one that can be taken advantage of. And there's a multitude. I mean, the Ontario government also has several. There's different grants pertaining to student hiring, etc., and so on. So that's my job, is to help you kind of navigate all of that. So there you go. I put my contact information in the chat as well. But if you go to the website, the red banner, that comes directly to me.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Thanks, Doreen. Okay, so Jimmy, did you want to talk a little bit about the TIP program and how it kind of blends together potentially with the other one?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple layers onto it now. So you have a foundation of the RRF. The Technology Innovation Program is a new program, and it's actually becoming a very busy program, if I can say that at this point. And this one is more geared towards technically doesn't have anything to do with RRF or any funding attached to it. But in perpetuity, the CFDC received funding from Rural Economic Development, what's called the RED funding, and it's from the ministry. And that allowed us to receive money to help entrepreneurs who are experiencing challenges or are needing to use or move to a form of technology. Now, I keep on saying this, that sounds very vague, and it is, because this is where we have these discovery calls to do that. So for example, someone says, I need to pivot my business to go from regular retail to some kind of Shopify or e-commerce. How do I do that? One, there's a cumbersome cost to it, whereas our organization will fund 50% of that cost. So let's say it costs someone, an entrepreneur, $10,000 to build a Shopify site, have 100 SKUs on there, have the best photography, have a great brand, have a great marketing. They would only pay $5,000 to that. So it allows them to have a really good product out there and allows them to take advantage of this type of technology. There is some criteria. There's other things. So for example, we have 6 technology innovation advisors. I project lead it. Andrew Seguin is in fact one of our advisors. So thanks, Andrew, for joining us. And Andrew has a specialty with bookkeeping, and you wouldn't think, well, how does bookkeeping and technology? Well, his interest is heavy in technology, in the fact that it simplifies people's lives versus complicating them. Believe it or not, he doesn't want to spend 15 hours a month on your business. He wants to perhaps only charge you 5 hours a month, as an example, using technology. So it actually is a win-win for everyone based on that. And so for that's an example of that. Someone may say, well, I'm really fine with my technology. I'm just tired of having a box full of receipts. And how do I use technology to do that? He actually helped me out. There's apps out there that you just take pictures and you tell it where to go and where it expenses, and it calculates your HST and it knows where to send it out. It provides reports. Something as simple as that is mind-blowing, but he also helps provide some training on that as well, so it doesn't become so scary and whatnot. Sorry, Andrew, if I'm taking your highlight on this, but that's part of the discovery call that we have. We have another one. Her name is Chantal Tranchemontaigne, and she's great at copywriting and great at content and great at getting people's brands out there and going from there. She does a lot more. I won't give her justice by explaining it all, but we have another gentleman. His name is Braden Gerard, and he owns a software company. He's a college professor as well, and he deals specifically with web development and software development. And we have an organization that is actually looking at building a software and using this type of technology to pivot their business as well. Their business is doing okay. They see a revenue stream that they can attach it to. The cumbersome thing is the cost, and they can utilize this program to help alleviate 50% of their costs. So I could go on a little bit more about this. We have a couple more advisors. The CoLab, which is a collaboration center in Cornwall. There's a team there of about 4 or 5 people. We have them that are working on a lot of content strategy and business strategy and marketing as well, and just different content stuff like that. I specialize in a little bit of lean management, and so I do some advice on that. And we also have someone that deals with CRM, or customer relation management software. So to see how a little bit, that would probably be a bit more for small to medium to larger size business. But we have a boutique suite of expertise that we can actually provide these entrepreneurs and business owners at Pivot from there. The criteria to that is really intriguing, because it has to, the business wants direction on how to boost sales and boost technology through, or boost productivity through technology. They want to see if they're right solutions. They want to make sure that they're relevant and competitive in the market. So as we see right now, a lot of businesses the market is changing a little bit, and we use the word pivoting a lot in this type of industry. So remaining relevant and competitive, you're always on top of it. And right now, Amazon, I think, released it that said basically get all your orders in now in order for you to get your stuff by Christmas. So shipping models are really changing how they do this, and they're figuring out ways on how to work with a big organization like Amazon. So a single person delivery shop is actually having to look at how to implement technology with a big corporation like Amazon. So something like that, that's a big gap and fit solution that really needs to be implemented from there. Also differentiating themselves in a strong market. So many players in one market, and they're looking, how do I make that differential value based on that? And that's where we can do that. Data is a big thing right now, and knowing your data, and Andrew can probably speak more about this, is really informative to know exactly where everything is, and not just asking your accountant to look at that, but in a snapshot. So if you're not able to know exactly where things need to be in a snapshot these days because everything's so fast, maybe that is hindering your business at this point where you need to leverage it. So that's the overview with that. And how I link these two programs is some people can't afford this, but they haven't accessed funding such as RRF or CBRE like that. You can actually figure out a way to say that A, has there been an impact on COVID, and B, how do I move forward with alleviating that impact, and just describing that criteria that I just described about what TIP is for. We can actually make a good case to say that I need RRF for this, and I'm going to utilize it for that. And that's where I work my magic and make the thing work together. Here's a little clicker to that. Here's the trump card that I like to lay out sometimes, is that you can actually take out RRF and utilize the grant portion that I described, that 25%, and actually help pay for this TIP program where it actually. So if I can kind of, not every case would apply to that, but that's where it could actually do that. So for example, someone takes out $40,000 and they need it for RRF. We can't lie about this. We have to make sure we're doing everything properly. But also the working capital portion is, what do I need to help myself get through this? Well, if I can utilize this piece of technology that I'm using from a proposal here, and it costs me $6,000, well, I'm going to pay out that $6,000, but when I pay back the loan, in theory, that grant that I'm allowed, that $10,000 and that $6,000 cost, it actually evens itself out. So there's a zero cost to that, which is good. So it's a really interesting way to do that, but to sit down and have someone go through a website like that, you wouldn't be able to connect the dots like that. So having a Doreen and having myself kind of work together like that, as well with all the other technology innovation advisors, it's a pretty good win-win, but you have to know how to navigate that. So leave us to that and let us kind of figure out a way to help your businesses out. Now, if that results in a flood of people asking questions, absolutely, let's do this. We currently have probably about, I think we've helped about 8 to 10 clients already in the TIP program. I've just released 4 new proposals this week, so that's really good. And there's several more that I'm working with. So I work with Andrew quite often. We have probably about 4 or 5 meetings next week to discuss with different clients, and as well as because I everybody wants to use it and your services. So there's other needs and wants that we go from there. So I kind of triage that and coordinate all the project management. And I bug them, hey, where's this at? That kind of stuff they need. So I'm the kind of the fall guy to that. So when the entrepreneur says, where's my application at? So instead of them calling 15 different people, they're calling one person, which helps alleviate that guidance counselor thing that Doreen was mentioning as well. So some really creative ways that we can do this from there. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the TIP program.
I think it's great. I think it's great. I think the one thing that I found through our conversation with the TIP program was that even if you are a business owner and you don't necessarily know where your shortfalls are, but you know that you want to look into it and you need extra advice, that the program itself is perfect for starting that conversation and getting these experts to kind of do an overview of what you have existing and where can you improve, and then from there action it, like get an actual plan to make your business better, whether it be e-commerce or what have you, that kind of helps you out, makes things run smoother, and you have access to all these experts that otherwise you wouldn't. So I think that's the greatest part about this program. And it's just a bonus that you can take advantage of it, and also the other funding that may be available at this time because of the time we're living in. So it works out overall for a lot more people than maybe last year at this time.
Yeah. I think I don't know if anybody has questions or anything like that, or maybe Doreen or I also there is another component, is we do traditional lending as well. So we are a non-profit in technicality, but some people say you're kind of like a bank. Yeah, we kind of are, you know what I mean? So we do traditional lending. We work in complement with the bank though. We won't compete against them. Generally, they offer a better interest rate for whatever purposes. But we also work with the BDC, who Rose D'Amato is on the line with us today, actually. Hi, Rose. So the Business Development Bank is also someone we work with. Currently, Rose and I are working on, I think, 2 or 3 different deals right now where she can do a certain portion of the funding because the banks can't, and the CFDC may pick up kind of the difference because of whatever, you know. So for example, there's $100,000 that a business needs, and they can only get funding from the bank of $20,000. They might get $50,000 from the BDC, and they might get an extra 15 from us. I'm just throwing out just some vague numbers there, but it just goes to show you that we can offer another solution to a shortfall that they may have. So that's something we also do as well, in addition to all the other programs that we have. And I haven't even told you about half the other programs. Just we'd be here for the rest of the afternoon. But
that's great.
So
I guess now would be the if there's any questions, but also if you could tell people how to get in contact with you. So how is the best way for them to reach you? Is it through the website, or just to email you directly, or is it to touch base with Doreen first? What's the best thing to do?
Yeah, so in terms of TIP directly, TIP is more if you want to meet and discuss your project in detail with the TIP advisors, yeah, absolutely get a hold of me directly. I'll throw my contact in there in the chat. Email is probably the quickest way. I do return phone calls. I do mostly everything through Zoom. When I work from home, I live in the middle of nowhere essentially, so my reception is horrible. So I have to, and trust me, ask Rose, Andrew, whoever, it's brutal. So everything is pretty much done through Zoom or email, just for simplicity's sake. I'm also not adverse to going to people's businesses if you need to, and we can schedule that as well, and go from there. So really, whatever works for you. So if someone is prefer email me. If you want to call. If you want to text, that type of thing. No problem that way at all. I'll throw my information in here actually.
Okay, that's great. And I don't know if Doreen, if you wanted to add maybe anything else, just ways to get in contact with you. And now you put your contact information in there. Thank you. That's great. And also maybe Andrew, I guess, since Jamie mentioned your part in the TIP program a little bit, if you have any contact information that you wanted to share as well, that would be great. And then if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to put them down in the message area, and we can go that way, or just unmute your button and go from there.
Yeah, any question? No, be shy. Andrew, unless you wanted to say a few things.
Yeah, I'll say, during COVID, a lot of my clients were able to access some additional loans and funding through the assistance with CFDC, BDC, and I want to commend all of them for really stepping up during these times more so than ever. You guys have always been a staple in this community when it comes to small businesses and supporting these businesses in the community. So, even till today, it's very easy for me to be getting a hold of you, Jamie, or Leslie, or Rose, and it's been very thankful. So even I would say if you're the business or a business needs this support, definitely take advantage of it. And whether it's the pivoting your business, looking for assistance through the TIP program, which has been very successful so far. We've a lot of clients have pushed through it, who we've helped to modernize their bookkeeping, their accounting, which at the end of the day, all that information just feeds it to better reporting, right? It's like, this is why technology is here nowadays, is to really help guide the business owner to make better decisions. Because if you're just entering data and it's just sitting there, it's not going to really do anything for you as a business owner, right? It's like the next steps would be to take that information, look at it, analyze it, and make conscious and accurate decisions on those financials. So using the TIP program with RRF and SEBA and all these different things have been very helpful. So I would say if you think you're a business that can take advantage of it, I would say it's definitely a no-brainer.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Well said. Appreciate that.
I would also like to add one of the things that I'm encountering with business owners. First of all, there's information overload. You're getting information from various different sources. There's a lot out there, and it's frustrating at times. And also, entrepreneurs' time is very short. We totally get that. One thing I will add as well is the fact that when we talk about the RRF, the Regional Recovery Fund, and we talk about $40,000, that's the maximum. But a lot of business owners don't need to have that much. I know that figure sometimes will scare off some people because they think, oh, I don't want to take on that much debt. They may only need $10,000 or $12,000. Again, the 25% is still forgivable if you qualify. So it's worth at least having a conversation. So I would strongly encourage anyone out there, spread the word. It doesn't have to be so complicated and painful. That's why we're there to help.
All right.
Okay, I think that's all for today. I would like to thank you very much, Jamie, for coming and being here for everyone, and especially on a Zoom call. It's not always the easiest, especially when you know you're being recorded. And Doreen, and thank you too to Andrew for saying a few words. And all the other participants who were able to come today. I encourage you to rewatch the session if you have any further questions, if you want to clarify anything, and also to share it with other business owners or anybody that you think may find value in our conversation today. I can be reached at Shauna, SHAUNA, at southglengarry.com. So you're welcome to send me an email. Jamie and Doreen have both put their contact information in the comments. I have heard from a couple of you attending today, and I will respond to you probably through email just for time's sake today. But if you have any questions or if you want clarification, and just the outline of the program, then I would suggest to either touch base on the newsletter. That's a direct link to the CFDC website. And then from there, click on that red banner and touch base with Doreen, and she can direct you whether it is to speak to Jamie or somebody else. So again, thank you everyone for participating, and have a good afternoon.
Thanks everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.